Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas. It's the 25th of December, and welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today, if you're all taking the day off to celebrate Christmas or Constitution Day or whatever the heck day it is today, we hope you're going to enjoy our lesson, and maybe you're going to go traveling sometime, but you need to have a pretty accurate perception of the world because we're talking about world maps today. And in classrooms around the world, you know, they need to put a map of the world on the wall, but unfortunately the world is round. How do you put a map that is flat on the wall that represents something that is round?
You're asking me? I don't make maps. I don't know.
Well, the world supposedly is round. There's actually still people out there who think the world is flat. But, hey, we could talk to them and get an accurate map of the world. But for the rest of us, though, we've got the Mercator projection, which is a map that a lot of people don't like because it kind of distorts the world. It makes places way up north look much bigger than they are, and it makes countries or continents on the equator look much smaller than they really are.
Yeah, it's interesting because depending on where you grew up, you probably had a map that made your country look a little bigger. I saw a map on the wall a couple weeks ago and I thought, oh, the U.S. looks very small on this map. Asia looks really big. So I think all of the maps are kind of interesting to look at depending on who makes them.
You might be talking about Mercator there because I know Mercator makes Canada look much bigger than the United States. It is bigger, but not that much bigger. And of course, Russia and Sardinia. Where's the place they send people that's really cold?
Oh,
in Russia?
Siberia.
Siberia, yeah. I just couldn't think of it. Yeah, Siberia is not really that big either, or at least it's not that small, depending on which map you're looking at. But we're talking about the world map that is most often used in the West, the Mercator projection, and how we can maybe fix that misconception of the world. So let's talk about this today. Let's get to it. Let's read the entire contents of today's lesson, and we will be right back. World maps can be found in a variety of places. Students often see them on classroom walls and in geography textbooks, and larger versions are common features in airports. Are these maps entirely accurate, though? World maps are generally based on the Mercator projection, a navigational chart produced in 1569 by Gerardus Mercator. It helped ship captains plot their courses and therefore used straight, equally spaced lines of latitude and longitude. However, as the Earth is a 3D globe rather than a 2D plane, this method distorts the world's image. It makes the countries near the poles look larger, while those closer to the equator appear smaller. For example, Greenland appears approximately the same size as Africa, whereas in fact it's 14 times smaller. Map makers understand the deficiencies of the Mercator projection and have been coming up with alternatives for years. One such is the Gaull-Peters projection, devised by Arno Peters, a German filmmaker. Peters believes the Mercator map encourages people to think Europe and the US are more important since they appear larger than African nations and other developing countries. His map uses different calculations to redress this. Nevertheless, it still distorts the world, making tropical areas look longer and polar regions look smaller. Despite this, the Gaull-Peters projection is used by UNESCO and various non-governmental groups such as Oxfam. Boston Public Schools is now putting both maps side by side to show students how they compare and also to explain the difficulties of 2D map making. A globe is a better way to view the world accurately. Another option is the website thetruesize.com, which allows users to move countries around on a virtual map and visualize their relative sizes. So while we're more familiar with the Mercator projection, we should always remember there are other ways of looking at the world.
Okay, guys, we're going to just dive right in here. All of us have seen maps, usually if you're a student, especially as you're starting out and elementary school or junior high, even high school, we had maps. Actually, they were called globes because they were in a round circle and you could move the circle around or the globe around. Those were kind of fun. Even today, though, I was just mentioning to Tom, I had seen a map a couple of weeks ago. I was in a studio and it was just on the wall and it was kind of fun to go and look at it. But like I said, I was shocked because the U.S. looks very small on this map. So you can see world maps in a variety of places. A variety just means many, and they're all different. You could see them at school. I have a little nephew that has a map in his bedroom. He's just fascinated with the world. I know Tom has probably memorized every country, city in the world. He seems to know about all the places I've never heard of. So there are maps in a lot of different places, but they're not always the same.
Yeah, well, I do try to memorize countries and capitals and stuff like that, but I am ashamed to admit that I'm not very good with Africa, and I think maybe the Mercator projection is responsible for that, but we'll get to that in just a second. But we're asking the question, is the world map accurate? World maps can be found in a variety of places. A variety of means many different kinds of places. Students often see them on classroom walls and in geography textbooks. Yes, indeed, those are the places where I saw them. And larger versions are common features in airports. Yeah, I guess if you go to airports, you will see them. It's a feature of an airport. Airports have lots of features, like those big television screens that tell you where to go for your connecting flight and stuff like that. Are these maps entirely accurate, though? We are asking that question. So here in the next paragraph, it says, world maps are generally based on the Mercator projection, a navigational chart produced way back in 1569 by a fella by the name of Gerardus Mercator. I hope I said that right. I think he's a Dutchman. So I probably said it wrong because I don't speak Dutch, even though I have Dutch ancestry, and my grandmother spoke Dutch to her grandmother when she was a child, but I never learned one word of Dutch.
Yeah, I don't know any either.
Tot ziens, I think that means something, but I don't know actually what it means.
Better not say that in case it's a bad word.
I think it's something nice, like how are you doing or something like that. But in any case here, yes, indeed, this is the Mercator projection we're talking about. That's the map that makes Greenland look ridiculously big. It makes the islands north of Canada ridiculously big. It makes the U.S. state of Alaska ridiculously big, etc., etc. Whereas countries in Africa and South America and maybe in the south of Asia, Southeast Asia or something, it makes them look really small.
Well, these world maps are generally based on the Mercator projection. Projection can mean different things. Here we're just talking about this person who kind of estimated or guessed. He was forecasting what he thought some of these places look like or how to put them on his map and what size to make them. So it's an estimate. But this guy was around a long time ago in 1569. We probably have much more accurate instruments to measure and judge and weigh the sizes of different places now. So he came up with his projection. It was a navigational chart produced by him in, 1569, a long time ago. Back then, of course, they were going from country to country without airplanes. So they were using a boat or a big ship when they wanted to leave a continent and travel across the ocean. Now, to go somewhere, you need a navigation system. We still talk about how our GPS in our car helps us navigate from place to place, tells us where to go, where to turn, where to stop. He produced a chart for people who were going to take to the sea and go from one place to another quite far away.
Exactly. So that's why they made that map. And I suppose because he was a person from Europe, they kind of stressed Europe there, making Europe look big and stuff like that. So yes, indeed, it was a navigational chart, and ship captains could plot their courses if they couldn't see the stars or whatever, if they didn't have a compass or something like that. So this map used straight, equally spaced lines of latitude and longitude. And those are lines we use to determine location on the face of the Earth. Latitude refers refers to where it is in terms of north and south, and longitude is east and west. So, for example, latitude is Weidu in Chinese, and longitude is Jingdu. So that might help you out there. It's kind of hard to explain this stuff, but we also refer to latitude. We use the word latitude to talk about countries or places that are far north or far south. Canada is in the northern latitudes of the Earth, for example. It's very far north. It's quite cold there. You can go skiing and skating and stuff like that. But in any case, yes, they put these lines of latitude and longitude on the map to help sailors navigate around the world.
Right. So it says here, though, however, as the Earth is a 3D globe rather than a 2D plane, this method distorts the world's image. So we're talking about 3D globe. It's that circular, that ball that you see that goes around and around. That's 3D, three-dimensional. But if it's 2D plane, it's a flat piece of paper, right? So 2D, when you see 2D, just know it's flat. But 3D is round or it's got shape to it, 3D globe. And usually globes are sold in bookstores, so you could go into the bookstore. You wouldn't say, I want to buy a map, because they would give you that flat, folded up piece of paper, right? But if you say you want a globe, they know it's that round ball that can spin.
Yeah, but if you need to put something on the wall, you need to decide which map to use. There are different ones besides the Mercator projection, which we'll get to in just a second. But in any case, the Earth is a globe. It's three-dimensional. It's not a 2D plane. So, of course, the world gets distorted. To distort something means to kind of exaggerate something, to make something bigger or smaller than it really is.
So then it's inaccurate, right, if it's distorted?
Pretty much like a caricature of, say, Barack Obama or Donald Trump. It's going to distort their features. Like Obama always had these big ears, and Trump always has this big mass of hair, but those are distortions or exaggerations. So the maps always distort the world's image, and it makes the countries near the poles look larger, while those closer to the equator appear smaller. So the poles would be the North Pole and the South Pole.
Right.
So yes, indeed, Antarctica or Siberia or Canada will look really big, whereas countries in Africa or South America will look small, as I mentioned before.
Right. Notice here we're not repeating the word countries. We're using those instead, because in English we hate to repeat words. That's not true in Chinese, because we both speak Chinese and I see a lot of writing. You guys love to 强调, 强调. Don't repeat words. If you can use a different word, you're going to get a better grade on your English writing. So notice we're saying it makes the countries near the poles larger, while those, which refers to countries, different countries closer to the equator, that imaginary line around the center of the Earth, it makes those countries appear smaller. That would include Taiwan.
And the equator passes just south of Singapore. And, for example, Greenland appears approximately the same size as Africa, whereas, in fact, it's 14 times smaller. So whereas just means at the same time. Actually, it's 14 times smaller than Africa. Africa is quite big, and we'll talk some more about this in just a second. But now it's time to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 我们首先来看到第二个句子里面提到 Students often see them on classroom walls and in geography textbooks. And larger blank one are common features in airports. 今天我们要谈论的是 World Maps, 也就是世界地图。学生们常常会在教室的墙壁或者在地理的教科书里面看到地图。那么在机场你则是可以看到比较大的什么呢？第一题 A 选项 Obstacles, 障碍。B. Origins, 源头出处。C. Versions, 版本。D. Volumes, 音量。那么在机场我们常常可以看到较大版本的地图，所以搭配文意，第一题的标准答案我们就选择 C. Versions。接着我们来看到第二个空格，这里在谈论的是地图是怎么绘制出来的。这里的句子提到 However, as the Earth is a 3D globe blank to a 2D plane, this method distorts the world's image. 这里提到事实上啊，地球是一个 3D 的球体，然后呢需要一个介系词来比照后面 2D 的平面，所以这样子的一个投影法反而扭曲了世界的图像。第二题的 A 选项 except for 除了什么什么之外， B along with 随着， C according to 根据， D rather than 而不是。这里要表达的是地球是一个 3D 的球体，而不是一个 2D 的平面，所以呢标准答案第二题就选择 D 选项 rather than。 第三个空格For example, Greenland appears approximately blank 3 Africa, whereas in fact is 14 times smaller. 在这里举例来说明呢，这样子的投影法其实呢没有办法完整的呈现这个国家的大小。举例来说，格陵兰呢看似跟非洲怎么样，但事实上格陵兰却比非洲小14倍。在这里要考同学，看起来跟它是一样的大小，我们可以选择的是 D 选项 The same size 搭配介系词 as， 也就用来表明格陵兰看起来是跟非洲一样的大小，所以第三题标准答案就选择 D 选项。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about world maps. Are they accurate? And we learned about Gerardus Mercator, who actually came up with a projection. A projection's kind of like an estimate. It's not accurate, but back then when he was living in 1569, they didn't have satellites, that could look down upon the earth and judge things and measure things accurately. But he was the guy who came up with a navigational chart that the sailors could use, or the captains of big ships could use, to go from one place to another without getting lost or too lost. We finished by talking about how Greenland, which is a country that most people haven't gone to, it appears huge or really big in comparison to Africa, which is actually much, much bigger. This is shocking to me. I always thought Greenland was just one of the biggest places on the globe.
Yeah, it's distorted for sure.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel angry about that because I never did understand the importance of Africa and all the countries there.
True.
And I thought, wow, Greenland and Africa the same size? Wow, they must be equally worthless. But in any case here, yes, indeed, we did mention that Greenland looks much bigger than Africa in the Mercator projection, when in reality, Greenland is 14 times smaller. Now, map makers understand the deficiencies of the Mercator projection and have been coming up with alternatives for years. A deficiency, of course, is a flaw in something, a problem with something, something that causes it not to be perfect or something. We also use this perhaps when we talk about nutrition. You might have vitamin deficiencies, for example. You're not getting enough vitamin C in your diet or something like that. So yes, they understand the flaws or the problems with this map, and they've been coming up with other choices, alternatives for years.
Yeah, that's what alternative means. It's a different option, a different choice. Do you have any more options? Do you have any more alternatives? So, yeah, they've had to come up with some different choices, different options. One such is the Gall-Peters projection devised by Arno Peters, who we're describing as being a German filmmaker. Peters believes the Mercator map encourages people to think Europe and the U.S. are more important since they appear larger than African nations and other developing countries. That's true. It really does. I always thought Africa looked kind of small, but if you see a map that's more accurate than the one I grew up with, it is quite big, actually.
There's a lot of stuff there worth checking out for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, indeed, we've got one possible alternative, the Gall-Peters projection. So that's one such alternative. It was devised by Arno Peters, who was a German filmmaker, but Peters believes the Mercator map encourages people to think Europe and the U.S. are more important since they appear larger than African nations and other developing countries, as I've mentioned before. That's what he feels. Mercator perhaps was on purpose to make Europe look bigger because I guess Europeans at one time thought that they were really hot stuff. You know, they were the kings of the world and stuff, so maybe their maps reflected that attitude.
If you're going to compare cultures, probably they considered that they were more advanced. But, you know, not many people got to Africa, you know, even back in the 1500s, 1600s. We just don't know a lot of what's going on when we don't go visit other places. So his map uses different calculations to redress this. So a calculation, of course, has something to do with math. So he did some mathematical calculations there to redress this. If you redress something, you kind of take a situation that's not fair and you try to fix it. So you kind of try to come up with a solution or a remedy that makes things right when they weren't fair or just before.
Right, so nevertheless, it still distorts the world, making tropical areas look longer and polar regions look smaller. Yeah, if you look at that map, it kind of looks like they're stretching things out. So when I look at that map, I kind of think that's better than the Mercator projection. There must be something better than that. But in any case, he used different calculations, different kinds of mathematics to address that problem, but it still distorts the world. The tropical areas, which are the hot parts of the world, like South America, Southern or Central Africa, different places.
Things near the equator, yeah.
Things near the equator. Those would be tropical areas. They look long, and polar regions look smaller, like the North Pole or the South Pole. They're not really that small either. It seems like it's going the other way.
Right. So despite this, the Gall-Peters projection or estimate is used by UNESCO today in various non-governmental groups, such as Oxfam. I'm really surprised we don't have more choices, to be honest. I mean, one of the choices is Mercator, and that was back in 1569. Come on, people. Boston Public Schools, that's a lot of schools in the Boston area in Massachusetts, which is a state back east in the U.S., is now putting both maps side by side. We often will put things side by side or next to each other so we can compare them to show students how they compare. Good way. And also to explain the difficulties of 2D map making. I guess you can't be absolutely accurate if you're just drawing things on a flat plane, because that's not how the world is. The earth is round. It's not flat. So a globe is a better way to view the world accurately. Maybe that's why we see a lot of globes in libraries and elementary schools. I saw more globes than just maps.
Sure, globes are pretty important. And, you know, this kind of reminds me that even a place as small as Taiwan, if you put it on a flat map, that is still distorted. Maybe you can't see the distortion, but actually Taiwan is probably curving from north to south and a little bit from east to west. So even a 2D map of Taiwan is probably going to be slightly inaccurate. I don't know how much, but in any case, that's a good point, well taken.
That's one of our words, actually, Tom, is accurate. Accurately, of course, is the adverb form, but if something's accurate, it's correct. It doesn't have any flaws or problems with it. It's correct. And, of course, you want to be learning things that are accurate, that are true, that aren't false. So another option is the website thetruesize.com. I haven't heard of this website before. It allows users to move countries around on a virtual map. So virtual, most people out there who are always on the internet know virtual just means kind of like real life. It's not real, but you're experiencing things digitally on a computer. Sometimes they'll take you on virtual tours if you go to different websites. Those are fun. If you can't fly out on a plane, but you want to see an area, get on the internet and go on a virtual tour. So this allows people using the site to actually move countries around on this virtual map and visualize or kind of take a look at their relative sizes once they put two countries side by side or next to each other.
I tried that on my smartphone. It didn't really work very well. Maybe it would work better on a PC. I don't know. But so while we're more familiar with the Mercator projection, at least in the West, we should always remember there are other ways of looking at the world. That's true. There are many different kinds of maps of the world out there. So, hey, which one is your favorite and what do you think is the most accurate one? Discuss that with your classmates. It's time now for us to listen once again to our Chinese teacher.
接着我们来看到，那么有没有其他的投影法可以来绘制地图呢？第4个空格提到 One such is the Gall-Peters projection. 这呢就是其中一种投影法 Blank 4 by Arnold Peters, a German filmmaker. 那么他是由这个 Arnold Peters 所怎么样的？他是一个德国的电影制作人。第4题 A 选项 devised 研究想出 B devoted 奉献 C defeated 打败D. defended 防卫。那么这样子的一个投影法是由这个德国电影制作人所想出来的，所研发出来的，所以搭配文意。第4题我们就选择 A. devised。 第5个空格在这里提到Peters believes the Mercator map encourages people to think Europe and the US are more important. 他认为之前的麦卡托地图的投影法呢，好像会让人们相信欧洲跟美国是比较重要的。第5个空格需要一个连接词，后面句子提到 They appear larger than African nations and other developing countries. 因为欧洲跟美国看起来是比起非洲国家跟其他发展中国家更大。那我们需要一个连接词，为什么欧洲跟美国会看起来比较重要呢？因为原先的地图投影法会让他们看起来是比较大的，所以在这里呢，表达一种因果关系，适合文意连接。我们第5题就选择 B 选项 since 因为。第6个空格当然提到了新的这个呢 Gall-Peters 这样子的投影法呢，就可以呢重新计算这样子的投影的结果，矫正这样的问题。第6个空格需要一个转成词，后面提到 It still distorts the world. 它仍然还是扭曲了世界的真实。那么后面有提到扭曲的结果就是使得热带地区看起来比较长，而极地看起来比较少。原本新的 Gall-Peters projection 希望能够改正之前旧的 The Mercator map 的缺陷，但是然而还是扭曲了这个世界。搭配文意，第6题的标准答案就选择 D 选项 Nevertheless 但是然而。 A 选项 Moreover 再者， B Meanwhile 在此同时， C Therefore 因此都不符合文意。接着第7格在这里提到 Another option is the website thetruesize.com. 另外一个选项呢，就是你可以上这个网站。这个网站有什么作用呢？补充说明 which allows users to move countries around. 那么你上这个网站就可以让使用者呢，可以去在这个虚拟的地图上来移动国家。在这里补充说明打逗号，我们用 which 代替前面的先行词，然后可以允许你使用者做这样的事情。第7题考文法问题，正确答案就选择 C 选项 which allows。 OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please join us again next time for another edition of our program. And once again, Merry Christmas to you and yours. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Merry Christmas!